14 seconds to go. He's going to go long into the corner. Torricelli playing it off the wall, trying to settle. 8 seconds left. His turnaround shot doesn't get to the net, and now Memphis will carry it up. Maybe a chance for Ramirez at the buzzer. He scores! Just before the horn! Memphis is going to take this one in shocking fashion at the buzzer. Oh my goodness! With a thrilling ending, it's Ramirez who finishes it off at the buzzer. Final score, Memphis 7, Columbus 6.
Spanish. So,
can I say it?
Can I say it right? Because they speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Dice así, dice, buscar el reino de Dios y su justicia primero, y el resto será añadido. You know? So, it's beautiful when we really, truly just, I wasn't looking for this opportunity, and that's the way I look at it. It was Christ giving it to me. Because my focus at the time was really just, helping out. But again, God put, I started to seek the kingdom, more in a way of just, helping the church, getting involved in church, and then learning also that we have different platforms that we can share the gospel. We don't necessarily have to, let's say this is a Bible, carry it around and go door to door. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like sometimes if you like something, God is going to use you through that to reach those that like the same things that you like as well. So definitely that's what I started to understand, as I was trying out. So going back to the tryouts, my pastor prays for me, right? And I go out there and man, I'm feeling it. I'm gonna do awesome. I'm a little, too confident, but it was so many of us, and it was a small field, it was indoor, and only 20 people were gonna get called, and so I remember I just tried my best. We prayed with my pastor. I went out there, boom, and went back home. I had a dream. I shared it with my wife. I was like, honey, I had a dream. I don't know what's the meaning of it, but I had a dream. And in the dream, I remember the owner, I remember he was looking at the field and I was there, but in the dream, I was really happy. So, God talks. He talks in many different ways. So I kind of felt like they were going to call me back. But at the same time, I was like, the other side of me, I was like, I just tried out, whatever. But 2 weeks later, my coach reaches out. And so he's not a native Memphian. He's actually in the midst of the tryouts. He's transitioning from St. Louis to Memphis. And so he calls me and basically tells me, hey, Cesar, I want, there's 10 players I was going to call. Because he also said it in the first tryouts. I'm going to call 10 of you guys. But out of the 10 of you guys are going to be invited to try out again. You don't have to pay. But only 3 are going to be, I'm going to choose from those top 10.
And you were one of those?
And he was right there already giving me a heads up and telling me, I want you in my team. I want to sign you. There's no doubt about it. Just work on these things and come back to the second tryout. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
I was really excited. And so I went to the second tryouts, and from there he saw me again, and right there is when I was offered the contract and just got introduced to the pro world of soccer.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. So just from a mutual connection, just a guy that you knew, to being a professional soccer player now, and that's so cool. I mentioned earlier before we started recording, but this week, to try and make us understand our theme a little bit better, we're using what's called the 5 W's, which are like the who, what, when, where, and why. Nice. And you've gone through just about all of them just in that conversation to let us know like who you are, what you're doing, where you came from, why you're doing what you're doing. And I think it's so cool that we can get to this point of the conversation where we've kind of drawn the picture, right? This is Cesar, the captain of the Memphis Americans, the soccer player who had this chance to try out and now is a professional. But through all of that conversation, we left out another part of who you are. It's like who question, and that is you are part of this church planting team here in Memphis. There's this church called Casa Church, and we got to meet last year at the convention.
We did. It was at the convention.
It was right at the beginning of these things, and you are part of this team that is trying to launch a church for Spanish speakers in Memphis, right?
Yes.
So you told me my life gets a little bit busy sometimes because I'm balancing both of these things. So can you share a little bit about your work with Casa Church, what that is like, kind of your reasons why you wanted to jump into that, and then from there we'll kind of put it all together and we'll see kind of how it falls into the Memphis Americans. So.
Yes. So I remember, I got married in summer of 2020, and I told my wife, we were at some family's church, and it was great, it was awesome, but her and I had like the same feelings of now that we're married, we want to take off. We're taking off. We're gonna just let God use us in many ways, and just reach out to whoever we need to reach out to, and that's what we did. Little did we know the plans He had for us, and it was 2020. Now we know this time is gonna be part of history.
Yeah, for sure.
And so things were closing down, churches were closing down. It was tough. It was really tough time for everyone, and we were concerned, because I remember the first month we got married was fine. First month passes, second month passes, and we're like, whoa, we're starting to notice the difference. We need to get involved in the community of Christ, because that we know that that's what we've been called for on earth, to be kingdom men. It's what I firmly believe in. And so I was like, man, we need to get involved in a church, and we tried different churches, and just wasn't it. And then you're gonna laugh at this. And then the fifth month came around, winter, because it was summer, right? So the fifth month, it's getting cold. One of my good friends, good buddy, he's a ref. He's like, you should come play indoor, and just come play with us, and pick up games. And I did, and it was at a soccer game that God again.
That's crazy how that happens.
Oh yeah, dude, I told you you're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. And so even because I love it, I love the story again, because it was because of soccer. And so in a way, right, through soccer, God used that, and I got connected with a good buddy of mine that I met in the past, again, in my previous years, that I was going through things, but he knew that I was a Christian, but he was firm in the faith. And I remember that at the time, again, since it had already been a lot of time, I was starting to get what we call cold, So I remember joking around with some of my friends, and he would laugh, but I just noticed there was something different in him. He wouldn't really blend in with us sometimes. But again, he's a great guy, smile, loves soccer too. I was like, this guy, I'm glad he hasn't left the faith, So I kind of just got caught, we caught up, and I was like, so what are you doing now? Are you going to church? And he's like, no, I'm not. And I was like, really, dude? He's like, yeah, well, it's a little different. He's like, it's a different thing, well, it's different to me. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, it's called Casa Church, we're planning a church. And I'm like, honestly, I had never heard of that term, planning. I'm like, I was like, planning? What exactly do you mean by planning? And he goes like, well, basically, we're trying to prepare, we're being guided through this, we're being guided through a non-profit organization who's helping us, my pastor, just make sure he's good, because it's a big responsibility. And I'm like, really? I'm looking for a church, And so he goes, I'm going to try and get you, if you don't mind, can I give my pastor your number, and maybe he can give you a call, and you guys, just can have a coffee or something. And I was like, yeah, sure, man, do it. I was like, yeah, do it. And I remember I went back home, I told my wife, I was like, it's interesting, that we never know. Maybe this, you just never know.
That could be it.
That could be it. And he calls me like 2 days later. I love my pastor. My pastor, he's a Cuban guy, very happy, very talkative, and just he doesn't hold anything in or back. So he's like, hey, how you doing? He's like, my name is, I don't know if I should say his name or not, but
you can shout him out.
Yeah, okay. Shout out to Pastor Robert. Love you, Pastor. So definitely he reaches out to me and he's like, we're planning a church. We're looking. I'm just seeing. If you had a church, or if you would like to come to one of our gatherings, we're gathering at a house, and it's a few of us. But this is the vision and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, nice. I like it. And he's like, yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? Allow me to invite you to my house, right? So he comes over to my house. And we have dinner with his wife, my wife, him and I. And it's funny because he'll say this all the time. He's like, Cesar is one of those, members that kind of did an interview to me because I ask him all kinds of questions. Growing up here in town in the community, I just want to make sure I would be somewhere, where I feel good. And I knew the backgrounds of it too. But it was a fresh start. Like he started, like he stated in that dinner. It's like, son, just doing something different in a way of, I just want to be crystal clear to the community, want to let them know that if you're not welcome at a church, we'll welcome you in. If you have tattoos, or if you don't, or if you wear shorts, or if you have, earrings, whatever, you're welcome to come to Casa. That's why it's called Casa Church. Our vision is to show Jesus one house at a time. Right, so he's concentrating literally on this zip code 38122. It's on that's one of the biggest Hispanic zip codes in town. And so he's like, how am I gonna do that? I know you're probably saying, that's what he was telling me. You're probably thinking that I'm one of those cliche preachers that I want to go house for house, but I literally do. And he literally pulls out a statistic. And he puts out a worksheet, which I love. I've been raised here, so I'm all about numbers. Like in a way of, okay, explain to me how you're gonna do it, and then we can see. And so he pulls out his sheets and shows me exactly. He had done his research, and I was like, good. Nice. I like it. He's like, it's gonna take us 5 years. That's literally, if we go not every day, but every other weekend, for this neighborhood. And he literally broke it down street by street how we were gonna apply that in 5 years. Just one zip code, he says. So that's why I'm not saying Memphis is for Christ. That's why I want to make sure I'm gonna bring Jesus to this zip code.
A very specific way.
Yes, and he's like, cool. This is for the first year, second year, and third year, and et cetera. And he's like, so this is what I'm looking to do. Would you like to be part of it?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, thank you, God, in a way, because we felt very, very comfortable.
That's what you'd been looking for, right?
That's what we were looking for. And I remember this real fast. I'm going to throw this in. A sister from another church was telling us, she's like, guys, when you guys pray for a church, right? Just don't pray a church you feel comfortable. Pray in a place you can help and serve, And it's very important, like you say, because Paul, when he was writing that letter, his purpose was always to serve the church,
Exactly. So, that's just a beautiful segue into, I think, really what is the purpose of this conversation, which is we want all of our students to know not only that those opportunities are out there,
Yes.
It's not like, even though it seems like you stumbled upon both of these opportunities accidentally, they weren't. And I believe that God has those opportunities for each and every one of our students. Maybe they've already come across them. Maybe it's there in the future for them to come across. But coming across the opportunity isn't enough. It's taking the initiative then to say, okay, now that God has presented me with this circle of influence, this church, this team, whatever it might be, how can I use my gifts to serve? And you mentioned it kind of offhand, but that's how God works, right?
Amen.
It's just those little things.
That's right.
You're the type of person who you love to talk. Somebody comes, you want to talk to them. You want to be relational with them. You want to get to know them. And that's just something that's natural to you. You just mentioned it naturally, but it's not natural to everybody. It's something I would call a gift.
Yes.
And you have used that gift in both of your areas of influence, both in the soccer team and in the church. And we can start with the church because we kind of left off here where your pastor was asking, like, how would you like to serve? and you are serving on what's called like the welcome team, right?
Yes.
So shout out to any of our students who are like on a welcome team.
Yes, guys. First impression.
Yeah. What's first impressions? How do you use your gift in that?
Yes. All right. So in first impression, my wife and I, we can say we're kind of like the coordinators of it. Mm-hmm. We're managing right now roughly a little over 30 people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 30 volunteers. And we're really excited to see, again, we started, we were there when Casa Church was meeting at a house with less than 30 people. And now we're at this place, where, we see the fruit of dedication, hard work. Mm-hmm. And so, first impression is basically just how it sounds. The term first impression is we want to make sure that to let the people that have felt not welcome at a church welcome. Mm-hmm. And what I mean with that is, again, the fact that sometimes, I don't know if you've ever been to a church and, you kind of feel out of...
People are looking at you when you come in. Or, I didn't know I was supposed to dress this way. Like,
where's my tie or my... No. And so, first impression, we try to make sure that we actually have a special table that's called VIP. You guys want to know something very interesting? I've actually received so much from the Lord by just being at the parking lot.
Yeah.
And being inside the sanctuary.
Just talking to people, right?
Just talking and sharing, just with a big smile. And I mean it, just say, welcome to the Lord's house.
Yeah.
And from the parking space to the cafe area, which shout out to my wife and the cafe area. They do an amazing job. We bring donuts every time. Every Sunday we bring donuts or water. My pastor always coming up with different ideas. Like last time we had ice cream or what they would call topollillo, which is like we call it in El Salvador charamusca. Then we offer them donuts, water, juice, mango juice, and we have this tent that says the church name, and we put music, right before the service. So we have this small get together, just gathering place, and then we go into the sanctuary. But from basically the sanctuary out, we're in charge of setting up. And every day we get there 4 or 5 hours before service to do all that setup. We get to set up the flags as well, just to kind of let them know that, hey, we're here, community, we're here. What are these flags for? It's for church. Welcome, come in.
So somebody might say, like, all that work for like flags and donuts and little ice cream and meat, like what's the point of that? Like, why would we work so hard to do that? But I think it just goes to show, like, you're using your gift as a people person. You want people to feel welcome.
Yes.
And if that's what it's going to take, music or ice cream or just being out in the parking lot with the flag and saying, hey, come on in, if that's going to help somebody change their perspective of church from that other vibe of where you're coming in and you're feeling judged, then, like, it's worth it.
Yes.
So I never want anybody to think that, like, that job is any less important than, like, the person who's up there leading a worship song, because all of it's coming together.
Yes.
So we have students who probably are hearing you talk about you're in the parking lot waving down somebody, you got music playing, and they're like, that's my nightmare. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I just want to be in the back working with the sound booth. But like, whatever you're doing to use your gift to impact the kingdom of God is worth it. It's all important. And that's one thing I'm hearing. Like, you're getting there 4 hours early just to make that one little impact. And I think it just goes to show your heart and the impact that you're willing to make when you decide to set your mind on things above, use that gift, something that comes naturally to you, to impact somebody. So we said that also goes in with your work in the Memphis Americans. So if we want to jump back to that story, you've tried out, you're on the team, and now I'm assuming because of these people skills and you are just this natural person that people are drawn to, you find yourself as the captain of the Memphis Americans. Explain to me, why do you think it's important, first and foremost, that you continue to be a example and a light to others as a captain of the soccer team, right? Soccer team isn't like church. It's not like setting up music or donuts or things like that, because you're not necessarily going to lead somebody to a church service, but you're still making an impact. What type of impact are you making for the kingdom as captain of the soccer team?
You know, going back to the question of the captain, fun fact is that I didn't know I was going to be captain of the Memphis Americans.
Yeah.
I found out 30 minutes before the game, the first game.
Oh, wow.
December 26th.
Okay.
Of 2021. I remember it clearly. I remember going into a locker room, right? So I had played soccer in clubs, private clubs, but I had never played at a level with a full arena. You know, well, it wasn't full, but you know, the whole thing was out there. You know, the arena was out there. The music, the people. You know, there were fans out there.
Big time.
Yeah, it's the big time. So I'm my first day out there, and I walk in the locker room. I mean, they literally stacked. You know, they had our uniforms. You know, there with the chairs and everything. I was like, wow. You know, this feels so good. This is like pro level. You know, and so mine just was a little different. And I saw something blue and white. I looked around. I'm like, I don't see that around, but it didn't say captain. You know, well. And then when I turned around, I picked it up. I turned around. It read captain on it. Yeah, it had written captain. I'm like, oh, this is my. Oh, I was like, no. And in a way, I was like, no, because I again, even though I am a people person, many times I would prefer just to go in somewhere and come out. You know, but I mean, if somebody speaks to me again, I'll speak. But I was like, I kind of didn't want, you know, because that's gonna stand out in games. You know, to the youngsters, you know, to the kids when they go out, you know, the captain, you know, so that puts a lot of weight on my shoulders because I have an idea of the leadership I'm supposed to model, you know. So I'm like, okay. I put it on and then I was like, wow, this is exciting. And of course, the coach, he tells me, right, he's like, in midst of the season, this is because things got a little, you know, overwhelmed, you know, because I still have a full-time job and church, and so I was getting a little overwhelmed. But he clearly said that was one of the reasons he made me captain. He saw the full potential in me. He saw the fact that I was going to be able to deal with, you know, with the pressure on the field and off the field. You know, because not only are we players of Memphis Americans in the field, but even outside, out in the community, people, you know, I had people following, new followers, and on my social platforms, and not a ton, but you know, people were, you know, looking, you know, oh, this is Cesar, you know, and then you know, so again, he I feel thankful for him. You know, shout out to my coach as well, Coach Corey. And he basically told me that I was going to be able to lead through example, you know. And like you said, I think the church really helped me a lot, you know. And when I had a teammate also, because it was a new team, we were going to have a lot of new players come in and try out. And what better way than to make them feel welcome, you know, in the field. So I guess that's also what I kind of help out.
Yeah, there was two things you mentioned today in our conversation. The first was when you were first playing soccer, this is before you even joined the Memphis Americans, and you would notice that there were people who were acting a little bit differently. Yeah. And that was kind of like your cue to be like, oh, this person must be a believer. And I think that's really cool that I think we're called to do that. Amen. To set our eyes on things above, not on earthly things, is to live a life that's different that people can notice. So you noticed that, and that was the first thing. The second thing was, like, you mentioned that, you know, you now have this opportunity where people are watching you.
Yes.
So you're now finding yourself in this position that you saw these other people in, where, like, people are noticing, oh, he's acting a little bit different.
Yes.
And it's really important as a captain to act different, because you get caught up in the moment and the heat of the game.
Yes.
And you're often the person who's having to intervene or step in, or, you know, the ref's coming to talk to him, the coach is talking to you. And to kind of wrap things up, I think there's this really beautiful story about how you as a captain were able to make a real impact, not only in the game, but in your teammates as well. It's the inaugural year, Memphis Americans. The season's coming to a close, and you guys find yourself in the playoffs. You're actually in the semifinals, right?
Yes.
and here you are, captain. And can you paint the picture for our students who are listening? What was going on in that time?
Oh man, a lot of things. This was back in April, early April. We're playing in Fayetteville, North Carolina, South Carolina, I think. Yeah, it's one of the Carolinas for sure.
One of those.
Yeah, but we were playing it, and we were playing the semifinals against Columbus. Georgia Columbus, a team from there, the Raptors. And again, I've always said when it comes to the knockout stages, there's no underdog. You know, all teams are good. Everyone is concentrated. Everyone is just, this is it. You know, we're all in. They came out. You know, I will say this. They were the quote unquote underdogs, but we knew we had mentally prepared ourselves. Unfortunately, because of the seasons and making up games, we had already played 2 games as well. So we were already tired. So there's a physical tiredness as well, and a mental tiredness. But man, we're focused, and the score is really tight. We score, we celebrate. They score, they celebrate. We score again, they score, and then they score again, and then we score, and then right before the half. Right, the half. Even though in indoor there's quarters, there's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. But this was literally right after the second quarter, just the half. Right before a few minutes, unfortunately, I'm playing defender, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I got caught up in the moment, and my outdoor instincts kicked in, and I just there was this situation. If you guys are familiar with soccer, it's called 2v1, right? When you have 2 attackers against 1 defender and 1 defender and a goalie. So in indoor, the best thing to do is kind of let the guy who has the ball get nearby or really close to the goalie, because since the goals are small, the goalie can actually become big, you know, and intimidate the. But I don't know what happened at the moment. My outdoor soccer instincts kicked in, and I just went directly for the guy, leaving an open angle for the guy that was on the right side. So I'm going on my left, right? I'm going straight at him. I'm like, I'm gonna save the day, you know, quote unquote. I come and I'm going for it. Unfortunately, he passed it right, giving the guy on my right an open angle. And obviously, not only an open angle, but the goalie as well has to shift, you know. And so the goalie already knows. I mean, he's a veteran. He knows the game, so he's already getting big here. So by the time, you know, I mean, everything happens so fast. So he passes the ball across. I'm already in the way. The right guy comes and just on one hit, boom, kicks it, and boom.
You guys are down.
We're down.
Yeah.
Right before the half. So we're already, you know, again, it's a tough game. We're down. Second half starts, and we get to score, and the game goes on pretty much like that for a while, and we're like down to the last seconds. All right, so we're down to the last second. Well, to the last minute. It was the last minute. They're attacking, we're attacking. Then they tried to attack, and our defenders, the coach decided to move me up because our forward got injured, unfortunately.
Oh, so, wow.
Yes.
It's like everything stacked up against
everything,
you.
yeah. And again, you know, as captain, I've always told him, wherever you need me, I can play. You know, I just put me there. And so he tells me, you're going up top. Target, it's what they call it. So in indoor. And so he's like, you're playing target, Cesar. And I'm like, okay. All right. But we're down to the last minute. On our end, we win the ball, and they play it to the midfielder, and I'm in the middle of the field, right, as a target. I'm waiting for the time. I'm timing the play as well. And when I see that the midfielder receives the ball, I literally just point at him, put it right there. You know, I'm just like right there, and I'm sprinting to it. And so that's what he did. He gave a through pass, right, and since they were in attack, it was kind of like a counterattack. So they weren't expecting us to, you know, give that counterattack as fast as the way we did. So I'm like right there, and he does it, and then I'm sprinting, and literally when they lost possession, it was 7 seconds. I still have it here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I'm literally running, and then 1 second literally on the countdown, and I kick the ball 1-0, and it rings, but then the soccer ball goes in.
Memphis is gonna take this one in shocking fashion at the buzzer. Oh my goodness.
So on the last second, they lost the game and we won, I take my shirt off.
Of course, you gotta live it up.
Man, I had to live it up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's how we made it to the finals from that goal.
I just think it's such an awesome parallel to what we've been talking about, because if someone were just to see that video, right, just that moment, they'd be like, man, that's awesome. Like, man, I can't believe it. That's so cool. But knowing the story behind it, like everything that led up to that moment, making the mistake, having the striker get injured, having to step into that, knowing that you guys were playing the underdog, knowing that you had all the other games before, like it makes that moment so much sweeter. Special. And I think that's something important for us to understand, that like our stories, it's just like you mentioned right at the beginning of this conversation, is like our story involves everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, because it makes what we are so much more beautiful. So my last thing I want to ask you, what was it like in that moment where you had been scored against and you felt like it was your fault and you had to, halftime, you have to go face to face with your coach? Like, our journeys aren't always going to be easy. They're not always going to be those big time, last minute, beautiful moments. There's going to be times where we feel maybe defeated or frustrated. How did you, I guess two things. First, in that moment, how did you overcome that? And then number two, what parallels can you draw from that to life? What encouragement can you give somebody who's going through disappointment? So let's start with the soccer first.
Yeah, I would say the lesson is that we're going to go through valleys in life. There's going to be moments where you're pretty much going to feel defeated. And not only feel, but you're actually being defeated.
Yeah.
Being a go down again on the last. Well, we were tied. Well, first we were down, but then we tied. But the moment where I would say you feel like there's no way out in a way, or man, I think I want to give up. Don't do it, because it's right there and then when God has something special for you, and not only you, but all of us, the believers in Christ. So we're not always gonna be victorious, right? And now I'm gonna look at you guys, and I mean it. Life has ups and downs, right? And we're gonna go through that valley, and probably you're going through it right now. But if you, again, like my brother said, if you allow me to share with you some encouragement, I would tell you that to be patient. Be patient, and not only patient, but try to just let the Lord surprise you in this process. And what I mean with that is, don't think you know what's going to be the outcome. Don't think you know it, because you truly don't. And God will surprise you. And I know even through this convention, He's gonna show you what He has in store for you. And I just hope that the valley you were going through, probably before this convention, you'll see the victory that you will overcome. So yeah, that's the parallel I would say.
Amen. Well, Cesar, thanks so much for taking the time just to chat with us and share a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, why you do it. My hope is just as students have heard this, that they can be encouraged that your gift, your interest was soccer, and you have been able to make a name for yourself and make an impact in God's kingdom using that. We thank you just for sharing that, for sharing about your work with Casa Church.
Yes.
It just is incredible to see how all those little pieces, the playing with your friends in just the little rec league, to hearing somebody who lived their life a little bit differently led you to this new church, like how all those little pieces fall together to impact the kingdom. And one important thing is, I don't think those opportunities would have been as impactful if you had not just continued to just keep your eyes on Jesus. Like you were
Amen.
looking for those opportunities and you made the most of them. And I want to encourage our students to do that as well. So thanks so much for chatting with us. I've been encouraged by this, and I hope that you guys have been encouraged as well. Before we wrap up, we got our who, what, when, where, why questions, and I'm going to pick this who right here. We know something big's coming up in November, the World Cup. Before we wrap up, make your prediction, and we'll see if you're correct. Come this November, who's winning the World Cup?
Oh man, you're gonna put me like that on the spotlight? Oh man. All right. I have to go with this side of the world. All right. I'm gonna go with Argentina, 100%.
All right. Messi's gonna make it happen finally.
He has to. He has to. We need Messi to win a World Cup. We do. You know, he deserves it. He has gone through valleys as well. I can say that, and he needs to overcome those as well and be victorious, hopefully.
All right. Well, you're talking to a Uruguayan, but we'll just let that be. I would be happy for Messi as well. You've heard it here, guys. Prediction: yes. Argentina's winning it all. Y'all, make sure tell Cesar thank you. You can send him a message. We'll put up his information here at the end. If somebody wants to follow you or anything like that, where can they do that?
Yeah, all right, guys. So I only have a Facebook, and it's called. Well, I'm Cesar Ramirez. You'll see a picture of me with long hair though, because at the time I had long hair, with my wife right next to me, and just Memphis, Tennessee, Cesar Ramirez, and that's where you guys can just reach me out if you ever need anything. Again, just send me a DM, right? Yeah. And again, if even if it's a prayer at midnight, I don't care. You send me a message.
All right, that's so sweet. And if you want to keep up with Cesar and the Memphis Americans, you can do so as well by following Memphis Americans on all the social media as well. Cesar, thanks so much for taking the time to do this, man. It was so much fun. See you guys.
Bye.
All right, that was great. That was so good.